I'd like to welcome you to this evening's Monday evening exploration. It's great to have everybody with us. Before we get into the program, I'd like to start by acknowledging that the Adirondack Experience is situated on the Aboriginal territories of the Mohawk and Abenaki communities. Indigenous people continue to live in this region and practice their teachings and life ways today. So to the program, in 2023, the Adirondack Experience is going to open a major new permanent exhibit called Artists and Inspiration in the Wild. And it is going to be filled with our fine art and decorative arts collections. This will be the first time that those collections will have been on permanent display for our many visitors. And in essence, we're going to be opening kind of a new art museum within the existing museum. Over the next months to come, we're going to be offering a series of monthly lectures, programs devoted to different aspects of the art in the Adirondacks in this particular project that we're working on now. Now, this exhibition was first conceived of many years ago. I guess in 2014, the Adirondack Experience adopted a new exhibit master plan, and this permanent exhibit was identified in there. But it wasn't until 2018 that we actually began to move forward with the project, and we brought in academic consultants, exhibit designers, media designers. We're also doing audience research to figure out, well, what is it about the Adirondacks and its art that would really interest the general public. We've done 3 phases of research. We're doing one right now at the museum, intercept surveys. So if you get intercepted here at the museum, that's what it will be all about. And we've been raising money for this project. It's a $4 million project, and we're halfway there. And as I love to tell everybody, the naming rights to the building are still available for $1 million. So please give me a call if you'd be interested in seeing your name up in lights. Tonight, I'm pleased to introduce 2 of the wonderful people who are working on the exhibition with us. And we're also going to hear a little later in the program from our chief curator, Laura Rice. But let me begin with the introduction of the first of our 2 major speakers, Greg Maddie. He is a project executive and designer director at the Gallagher and Associates firm, an international design firm, specializing in exhibit design and museum planning. And this is the same firm that we worked with a number of years ago on both the master plan and the creation of the largest exhibit on campus, which is called Life in the Adirondacks. Greg's career spans over 35 years and includes projects ranging from science centers and natural history museums to cultural and historical facilities. He is a licensed architect and has taught design courses at the University of California at Berkeley, the Catholic University, and the Savannah College of Art and Design. Greg received his master's in architecture from the University of California, Berkeley, and his BA from Virginia Tech. Also with us will be Sarah Smith, who is a producer and project manager at Richard Lewis Media Group, an interactive media company based in Boston. And she also, along with Greg, worked on our master plan and our Life in the Adirondacks exhibit. Sarah is a deep believer in the value of museums as spaces for collections, stories, and social engagement. Before joining Richard Lewis Media Group, Sarah was director of exhibit development for an exhibit design firm and previously spent 10 years developing curatorial experiences in art and cultural history museums. She has a bachelor's in anthropology from Brown and a master's from the University of Washington. Now a little on the housekeeping side of things. Please submit any questions through the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We'll be happy to answer those questions at the end of the presentation. And museum staff will be monitoring things. If there are any issues that we can address during the presentation, again, submit them through the Q&A. So with that, let me turn things over to Sarah and Greg.
Great. Thank you very much, David. I hope everyone can hear me. I'll turn up my volume just a little bit just to help. So yes, I mean, David gave a great introduction there. Again, Gallagher and I work at Gallagher and Associates, and you know, we have been I've been there for over 20 years now, and we design museum exhibits and experiences all around the world. I've worked across Europe and China, and across the United States as well, a variety of cultural history, natural history exhibits and experiences. And so it's just a great opportunity to again work for your organization and the Adirondack Experience to create this this new and exciting opportunity. And then I'll let Sarah, turn it over to Sarah to talk a little about her company.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks, David and Greg. And it's really wonderful to be here working with the Adirondack Museum, Adirondack Experience again. It was such a great experience for us all working back on the life in the Adirondacks. So it's just a wonderful team. And this is such a great opportunity. So Richard Lewis Media Group, we're in the Boston area, Watertown. We're about 35 people. We're a digital design and production studio producing media experiences, digital experiences for museums of all sorts, art museums, social, cultural, history, science museums, including many with Gallagher and Associates. I think that's what I have to say for right now.
Sounds great. So Cheryl and David wanted me to talk a little bit about the development of exhibits. And, you know, we approach exhibits very much like the design of a building. So we go through a conceptual phase like we did for this project. Then we move into a schematic design phase where we really begin to kind of shape how we're going to tell that story. We focus very much on content first. For us, the story and the message always come first before we begin to kind of figure out how we're going to shape it into the physical design. And then we work through what we call a design development phase, where we really then begin to get into a little more detail with materials and finishes, how those structures work. And again, working very closely with Sarah's company and figuring out the media elements and the interactive elements and the physical interactives as well. And then we move into a construction documents phase, again, very much like architecture, where now we're detailing it out and getting ready for how it's built and really the construction of each element. And then it'll go out to bid in a bid process to companies that are specially suited for actually building and fabricating and installing museum exhibits. And there's quite a few of those companies out there across the country. Then we work with them all. So I'll begin flipping through the, oops, hold on, let me just make sure I've got the right, there we go. So again, one of the things we do is really think about what the key messages are for the exhibit first. And then and the key content. And then what we're doing at the beginning of this process is then we have to reshape the space. We diagram out the story arc through the space, and then we're going to reshape the spaces in this existing building to work for this new exhibit. So we're really building in. We're now creating 6 spaces. We're creating an entry gallery. And then we're really going to look at the art of the Adirondacks through 4 different lenses: the lens of light, forest, water, and mountains. And those are going to be the 2 kind of lenses that we help visitors kind of understand this amazing collection that the museum has, and this wide variety of creative effort that come out from paintings to furniture, to ceramics, to fabrics, to other elements that are again created by the artists in this area. And then the last space is a maker space, which is very much kind of hands-on experience where people can actually kind of make things and create things after the exhibit. So again, at the very beginning, we're creating this sort of intro gallery. And so this really just sort of sets up the main messages for this space. Again, we have a wide variety of objects within this and artwork within this gallery, but really kind of prepare the visitor for what they're going to see. So in a way, it's like we're going to tell them what you're going to tell them. And so again, laying out the main messages before you go into the first key gallery. Sarah, would you like to talk a little bit about this area?
I think when we get to the animated ceiling, I'll.
Okay, sure. So again, we have some we have some graphics in this area that help to kind of explain the big ideas for this exhibit and introduce the kind of key thoughts. And then again, around the walls where we have lots of artwork and again, a variety of furniture, craft that connect to all of the different key aspects that this gallery creates.
So one of the elements in this space is the ceiling projection. It's basically an animated fresco, and we want to suggest the themes of the exhibit: the light, mountains, water, forest, as seen from below, and bring nature into the space in a way that we're melding real video of sky from that area and doing it in a style that's reminiscent of artists whose work you'll see in the gallery. And if you go to the next slide, one of those artists is Rockwell Kent. So in that upper right, and you can go to the next slide, we're experimenting right now with rendering real video in a style that's sort of like this, and it's animated, moves slowly, like at the pace of nature. And we would cycle through different chapters. You know, maybe in one, you're seeing the edges of mountaintops with the clouds going past. In another, you're looking up through the canopy of a forest. In another, rain is coming down, or you're looking up through water. Changing the light quality, just very subtle way to suggest the elements that the artists are addressing, and with subtle ambient audio to support. Oh, and we should say that there are a couple media elements that are spread throughout all of the galleries. And one of them is about meeting the artists, and we're going to have like 6 small screens spread throughout, adjacent to particular pieces of work. And we want to bring these artists into the gallery, and we want to bring how they work in their studios and the kind of materials that they work with in, just to bring that artwork to life. And we're in discussion about who those should be, but we're looking at potentially a potter, a Natasha Smoke Santiago, or a basket maker, Carrie Hill or Barbara Watso, sculptors, painters, photographers, a snowshoe maker, a quilt maker, furniture. We'll hone that number down, and it'll be related to the artwork on display.
So the next gallery that you'll move into after this introductory gallery is the light gallery. And again, so in this area, when you first come in, there'll be an introduction to the space. And then of course, both on the walls, on the surrounding walls, as well as in the center of the space, is a wide variety of artwork from artists that really kind of focus on this idea of light in the Adirondacks and help people understand how important that is to the creative process for this for this area. And then as you move around that space, there's a series of activities in this area that let you play and explore with light in a variety of different ways, in a very kind of hands-on way. So, and then you can move from the exploring the artwork and enjoying the wide variety of pieces of art and the elements from the collection, and then back to these interactives, and really kind of get a sense of how artists are influenced by light and how light can really change in an environment, a view, in the way artists create things and how they see things with different types of light, different color of light. And again, and this is geared for both just a wide variety of visitors from children to adults. And so it really kind of engaging everyone in these different activities.
Yeah, maybe you could go to the next slide.
Oops, sorry.
Actually, yeah.
Again, this is that center experience that shows we have quilts, ceramics, pottery, baskets, paintings, all in that center structure, as well as on the surrounding walls. And then this is also where the various interactives live. I think, Sarah, you may want to talk to this about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So this painting, West Mountain at Racket Lake by William Tyler, is an example of the kind of quality of light that the artist chose to paint. And the team wanted to communicate that artists are making these choices and these decisions to create mood and evoke emotion in their viewers. And so one of those activities that Greg was talking about will be some way for the visitor to make their own choices and manipulate knobs or sliders. We don't know what yet, but to adjust the time of day or the color of the light or the temperature of the light, the atmosphere, is it clear or misty? And not stray too far from the style of this particular painting, but show how the mood changes with simple choices.
So this gives you a little bit of the idea of how we would begin to work to organize some of the art on those surrounding walls. We're looking at also mixing these with some places where we actually have some sketches and similar type of content that's directly on the wall surfaces. And again, this is working with David's staff and the team there, with Laura at the Adirondack Experience, to help kind of organize these and structure these around, again, these different ideas of light and how they influence the creative process in the area. So this gives you a little bit of a preview of that selection and how they'll be organized. The next gallery is the Forest Gallery. And again, as you enter the Forest Gallery, you first see this wide variety of pieces from the collection, both the furniture, paintings, elements that are again a wide variety of elements that are influenced by this topic and this kind of idea of forest. We're changing the flooring in these spaces, and again, after you move into the space, then you'll discover these wide variety of interactives that allows you to kind of help to understand how important it is and impactful the density of forest and the different types of forest environments affect and kind of translate into the creative work by the wide variety of artists. And again, you'll see this is an example of those center structures and how we're looking at using those to allow people to see things from a variety of different points of view and move around the space and make it a very dynamic experience. And again, this is how you're seeing some of those layouts on the wall. And we're using scrim a lot with this illustration treatment that are on the walls, so that there's some transparency and lightness there that helps to kind of create a very kind of dynamic environment. Sarah, do you want to speak to this slide?
Yeah. So I think everybody on the team is completely enchanted by the artist Edna Teal and her paintings of her daily life. So there are a number of the paintings on display in that elevation that Greg just showed. And here's an example of one called Making Maple Sugar. And there's something about the way the characters are drawn and the proportions and just the delightfulness of them that really lends themselves to animation. And we wanted to let the paintings tell the stories that she is also documented in words about these scenes in her life. So we would like to let visitors select a painting on a touch screen, select one of the paintings in front of them, and then be able to explore it a little bit. So maybe the smoke is rising from the fire in this maple sugaring scene, just very subtly. Maybe somebody is stirring a pot. Maybe there's steam rising from a boiling pot. And occasionally her words might pop up on screen. And I just wanted to read one of her, a quote from one of her writings. Toward noon on days the men were boiling, someone from the house, perhaps a visiting playmate, and I would take a noon meal to the workers. So clearly that's what's happening in this image. And that text might come up on screen in a beautiful typographic kind of way and just reinforce what you're seeing. So we want to let the paintings tell the stories themselves. So we're working on that animation style. We don't want it to overwhelm at all. We want it to be within the style. We want it to be something like if Edna Teal had been an animator herself, that she would have done.
And what we're doing throughout, and as Sarah's describing, is we're trying to find that careful balance between the display of the artwork and then some of these both hands-on and media interactives to let people experience these paintings and this creative work in a little bit of a new way, and be able to kind of see them in a new way. And then hopefully also as they leave this exhibit, it helps them on their walks through the Adirondacks, and as they're visiting the Adirondacks, that they'll help to see the environment in a new way because of these kind of ways to explore that as they're exploring this artwork. This again gives you some examples of the layouts as we're kind of beginning to develop those for the forest gallery. And you can see some of the sketches that we're looking at it on these scrim elements that are on the surrounding walls. And again, there'll be those elements in the center of the room too, with some of the more freestanding furniture and some of the more three-dimensional elements. And again, you'll see here where we're mixing a variety of type of artwork in each area and then grouping those together to help people better understand that impact of forest on the creative process. And again, helping to create spaces where people can really see that artwork and appreciate it, and isolating some of the elements, creating kind of quiet moments, as well as spaces where we're grouping things together. So the next space is and lens for viewing the artwork is the water gallery. So here's a view of that space. We really looked at a way of creating this space where it feels almost like a river, like a stream, whereas you kind of move down through the space with elements both on the floor and the ceiling that help create that kind of environment. As you enter the space, there's an introductory graphic that helps you give you kind of an overview, and there'll be a graphic like this for each of these galleries that again provided just a foreshadowing of the kind of key ideas and key messages for each area. And then as you move through this space and flow through this space, there's this wide variety of collection that we'll be able to kind of explore. Each of these spaces will also have a very subtle ambient soundtrack so that there'll be a little bit of water sound in this area. And again, same with in forest, there'll be the sounds of a forest, and in the upcoming gallery, there'll be sounds as well to kind of match with each of the environments. And again, we're trying to mix up a variety of the different collections and so forth to people really kind of see these things together as a kind of a larger creative whole. Then the next gallery is the mountain gallery. So again, as you enter this gallery, there's this large central structure that helps to kind of set up the idea and the story of the fantastic mountains and of this area, and again their influence on the artwork. Again, we're varying the floor in that center space, and then having quieter moments around the walls for the artwork. And then the back side of the structure, we have a variety of hands-on interactives that really kind of get at the idea of scale, of impact, of depth and color that are influenced by the mountains in this area and influence the artwork. And this gives you a little bit of sense of that that center platform. And again, we're looking at illustration as well as a wide variety of elements to display in this area. Then move out and around the structure to the artwork, to the other artwork in the space. And again, you see that we're using some illustration work both on the walls and in the space to kind of really make this as kind of immersive as possible and dynamic as possible. And again, with ambient sound, a very subtle ambient sound in this space. And again, some of the other walls, again, with both three-dimensional pieces as well as furniture, paintings, and a wide variety of elements from the collection. We also have in this area a large collection of baskets from this area that we're including, and as well as some written documents. The final space in the area is really for people to have much more of a hands-on experience. We're working with a local artist, Barney Bellinger, who will help us with kind of the theming of this space. But this is an opportunity. This space provides an opportunity for a much more kinds of hands-on experience for visitors to make things and to take things from that they've learned from the previous gallery and explored in the previous galleries, to get the hand at kind of maybe seeing how nature might influence the assembly of elements and the creation of pieces themselves, and the layering of those objects and in things that they can make themselves. Sarah?
One of the elements of the Maker Studio is life-size video of Barney Bellinger at work. We really, just like we had those 6 smaller screens throughout the gallery to let you see the artist at work and feel the texture, just see them gooping with paint and weaving baskets. We want to do the same here, but probably he's speaking and welcoming you to a studio. You get to see him welding and sanding and painting. We're deciding now whether you actually touch a tool, and that triggers a 30-second video of him doing that. And you can choose these different tools to see him working in different medium, or whether it's one looping video, whatever it is, it will be integrated into the space so that you feel that you're immersed in his studio and just happen to be there with him working. So that will be really wonderful. And there'll be ambient audio too, so you're hearing him, hearing the sparks and the welding and hearing the sanding. And I forgot to mention that there is ambient audio in each of the galleries to evoke mountain, to support these concepts that artists are going for. So the wind at a mountain, the rustling of leaves in the forest, the water, all the different kinds of water that you experience in the Adirondacks. Just very subtle, giving you a mood for each gallery. So that's it for the media there.
And so we're hoping that through the variety of types of experiences that you have, to both viewing the artwork, obviously, and then the hands-on activities in each gallery, as well as the media elements that Sarah described, that we have that by the time you get to the makerspace, that you have a desire to explore a little bit and maybe even create something yourself. I think that, again, and then I think the hope is that as you step back outside, that this idea of these different lenses, these different kind of aspects of these important elements that influence the creative process for these artists, that help you kind of maybe see the environment a little bit differently when you're out on a hike or when you're out in the environment, when you're in the forest, when you're hiking up a mountain, when you're by a stream, you know, in early morning or evening light, and that these elements and these interactives and this amazing variety of work that kind of changes the way you experience the park itself. And I think that's it. I'm happy to discuss and answer any questions that people have.
Well, thanks so much, Greg and Sarah. This has been wonderful, and we're now joined by Laura Rice, who is Chief Curator of the Adirondack Experience. She's had that title for the last 14 years, I think. Is that right, Laura? And Laura's been on the staff for 18 years in all. Laura is one of the key people here who, along with Cheryl Brownstein, who's the Director of Interpretation, are working on this wonderful exhibit project. And Laura was very involved in creating the Life in the Adirondacks exhibit. And she is going to be working on a book version of this exhibit that will come out in 2023. And Laura, the manuscript's due in December, is that right? You're going to be busy. All these things work way in advance. And Sarah, we're being joined by Stephanie as well from your shop, yes?
Well, Stephanie has been lurking there. Stephanie's our creative director. She's very involved in this project. It's a passion project for her. I'm not sure if she might want to be incognito here.
All right, we'll allow her to lurk then. So we've had a number of questions from the audience, and I'm going to pass those along. So one question is, will any of the exhibit change from time to time, the artists who are represented in the paintings? So maybe you could all touch on that for a moment.
I'll jump in first. I mean, absolutely. The exhibit has been designed working with Laura and Cheryl that as you can see, the topics are quite broad here, and the kind of lenses are quite broad, and so the ability to change things out so that it won't be the same every time you come. But I think because their collection is quite large, I think there's some great opportunities to rotate in new pieces from a variety of different ways, quilts, baskets, in order to kind of is everyone?
We're still here.
All right. But I think Laura, you can speak to this as well, I think.
Yeah, one of the things that we really want to do is to also have a place to bring things out that don't get seen very often. So we have a lot of light sensitive material, for instance, an incredible collection of watercolors. We also have prints, etchings, engravings, lithographs, and photographs, an incredible photograph collection. So we'll have areas throughout each of these galleries that will allow us to change those on a fairly regular basis. And I think we'll also have opportunities to change some of the oils on canvas. You know, as you look at them, sorting them into, well, is this mountains? Is this light? The answer is yes. So we can maybe change the context for some of these paintings moving forward as well.
And we'll be able to have control of the light in all these spaces. So we'll be able to adjust the light to make sure that some of the more light sensitive pieces can have just the right number of foot candles and so forth. So to protect the artwork. So we'll work with Laura and her team on that as well.
So there was a question about where is this going to happen exactly? Is the new building completed? And I'll take that one on and just say we're not building a new building. We're renovating an existing building on campus, and it's the one that's known as Main. Not that many people think of it as that, but it's the place where we do changing exhibits. And this season, we have an exhibit on World War II in Maine, and also an exhibit on taxidermy called Curious Creatures. Let me pose a couple of questions. Obviously, it was mentioned that this is a big collection. Laura, could you maybe speak to the issue of How big is it exactly? And how does one go about selecting which of the items will be in a display like this?
So I want to say we have about 700 paintings in the collection. Not all of them are considered fine art. Some are more documentary. Others are really focused on portraiture. So when we were thinking about this exhibit and thinking about the commonalities in Adirondack art, we came back to that landscape, especially since the bulk of the paintings are landscape paintings. This is what really inspires artists when they come here. It's what drew them here to begin with. It's why they still come. So we have about 700 paintings. We have, I want to say, maybe 3,000 prints and drawings, etchings, engravings, and well over 80,000 photographs. So it's an enormous collection. There's a tremendous amount of depth and breadth to it. Did I answer that question? Is that
Well,
what you're asking?
and how about the issue of, so how do you pick among all of those
Oh.
things as to what you're actually going to display?
So we know that we have some, I don't know if you want to call them masterworks particularly, but there's some really incredible paintings that stand out well above the others. A lot of them are done by artists, American artists who are very prominent, not just in the Adirondacks, but in our national art history. So people like A.F. Tate, sort of the quintessential Adirondack painter. We have William Trost Richards, John Frederick Kensett, members of the Hudson River School. So we chose those masterworks. We made sure to pull in the old favorites like Tate that we get a lot of requests for. And we've pulled in things that we know people haven't seen very often. So it's been quite a process. There was a whole team of us sort of looking at these images, sorting them, debating. It's been quite a process.
Great. Here's one for all of you. You know, you walk in most art museums and the walls of the galleries are all painted white, and the paintings are all sort of spaced out, you know, with a huge amount of space between them. And then there'll be a little label somewhere that tells you what it is. So this is not that kind of an exhibit. So could you talk a little bit about how this is different and why this is not going to be your, you know, typical art museum exhibit?
Well, I can maybe take the first. So in Western society, we tend to have a, we compartmentalize. So there's fine art that sort of exists for no reason other than being beautiful or for aesthetic reasons. And then you've got what we would lump together as the work of an artisan, things that have a function that may be beautiful. We're taking this as all of it is art. So a basket maker, even a maker of skis, a guideboat builder, a fine art painter, all of these people are inspired by and defined, their work is defined to a certain extent by the environment, by the landscape, by the elements in the natural world around them. There's beauty in all of these things. If you're making a functional item, it is still art. You're working within the constraints of your design parameters, but there's a tremendous amount of creativity and beauty that comes out of that as well.
And there are a few art museums. I feel like the Getty in LA has always been a little bit on the cutting edge of interpretive art experiences, where they really explore artwork with a variety of interactives and with some with much more in kind of interpretation. And so I think that it just helps people maybe see the work in a variety of different ways, beyond just the who painted it and the date it was painted and, you know, where it was acquired from. But it lets people kind of see that and see those pieces hopefully in a new way. So I think there's some real opportunities there. Sarah, did you want to talk to that at all? Or?
Yeah, I guess I would say I remember a lot of conversation in the beginning about the word creativity. And inspiration, meaning that we wanted visitors to feel inspired and creative as well. And I know in the 3D exhibitry, there are a lot of ways that visitors are interacting and making something and exploring technique. So sort of breaking down the tools of the trade. I don't see that so much in art museums. You know, it's definitely not a typical art history kind of approach. And also, the media is being used to bring, like I said, bring the outside in, even though you're right there in the beauty of the Adirondacks. We still want to bring it in and make sure that you understand the elements that are being considered by the artists and draw your attention to it so that when you go out, you've been cued a little bit. Yeah, and then bringing the presence of the artists in, the making of it, not just the final product, I think is some art museums are doing that more and more, but it's definitely geared towards a family audience, many ways to connect with that art on the wall.
Great. Hey, Greg, I really like that comparison with the Getty. Could you keep at that? You know, how about the V&A and, you know, maybe the National Gallery, you know, keep at it. Just had an interesting question from a viewer who wanted to know, thinking about the sound elements in the galleries. She was wondering, will you hear different seasons evoked? And I don't think we thought of that yet, but maybe the rest of you have. But that was the question. Are we planning on building changes like that into the
I think we definitely should. And David, you're right. We haven't gotten to that level of detail in the media design yet. But the crack, let's say it's in the water gallery, you know, in addition to streams, waves on lakes, waterfall, how about the cracking of ice, you know? How about the rustling of dried leaves as well as the wind in, you know, as well as the wind in the summer trees? I think we'll definitely want to do that. It's a great question.
Good.
The buzzing of a black fly.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Oh, well, I don't know about that, but thank you for making that suggestion. You know, this reminds me, years ago, I saw this great exhibit in Tokyo where inside they reconstructed a portion of 19th century Tokyo, and they had the light change over the course of, you know, 15, 20 minutes from dark to light, light to dark again, which is just fascinating, you know, sort of overlay on the experience the visitors had. And I think they did have some soundscape in there as well, so it can create an incredible impression on visitors. Well, I think we're getting to the end of the program. Do any of our speakers, panel participants, have anything that they would like to add to what we've discussed thus far?
No, I do like this idea of playing with light, though, and we did, as Sarah mentioned, we do in the light gallery do want to have some of those in some of those hands-on areas, be able to have ability to play with the color of light. You know, as you oftentimes in paintings, you'll see an artist paint a shadow purple, and helping to understand why is that, and be able to kind of play with light, play with the intensity of light, and how it creates depth and space. So I think that, you know, all those interactives, I think that hopefully it not only helps you see the artwork differently, but it also helps you, as Sarah mentioned, I really want to kind of have people step outside and help them, you know, kind of think about the environment around them maybe a little bit anew by sort of, you know, deconstructing it into these 4 different lenses, and then again kind of melding it back together into the world that you experienced in the park.
Great. You know, maybe one last question for Laura. You know, Laura, many of these paintings and other works of art have been in the collection for decades, but there are some new items as well that will be included in the show. So could you talk a little bit about that, and are we looking for things still to be included in this wonderful exhibit?
We are actually. This has been a great opportunity to really take a hard look at the collection, see where some of the gaps are, some of the things that we don't have or would like to have. So we were very excited not too long ago to acquire 2 new paintings from the 19th century by women artists who are underrepresented during that time period. Kind of interesting because women were active as artists. They went to the same formal art schools. They exhibited alongside their male counterparts, but were never really taken seriously as artists. They were just sort of hobbyists, I guess. But we have 2 women, Kate Newhall and Suzanne Porter, who actually pursued art careers, supported themselves as artists. Suzanne Porter's view from about 1879 is of Lake Placid looking toward Whiteface Mountain. And Kate Newhall's is a view on Black Brook during the fall, I believe. And they're just gorgeous paintings. But we've acquired other objects as well. We just acquired a guitar by a Mohawk guitar maker, which is absolutely beautiful. We've been acquiring baskets. So we're keeping our eyes open and pulling new things in all the time. So things may shift a little bit design-wise by the time we get to the end.
Great, great.
I said that was going to be the last question, but one came in that I just have to ask. Is this going to be a good exhibit for my grandkids?
Yes.
I see a lot of nodding there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why is that?
I think we'll have a real fun variety of hands-on activities for kids. And again, I think that some of the things that Sarah described, some of the interactives will be super fun for kids. But go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we've decided on the final style of the Edna Teal, how to explore those paintings. Maybe you're peering through something to see into the world, kind of magic peephole, the knobs and dials for adjusting the lighting and coloring and atmosphere of a painting. There's a magical sort of quality we're trying to get to. And I know Michaela really has her finger on the pulse of what younger audiences need. And she really brings great ideas to the table. So I'm sure there's a lot of things happening in the 3D world I'm not even aware of, but she's thinking of it.
Yeah, I think children and, sorry, I was just going to say, I think children and art are a natural connection. I think for some of us, it gets lost a little bit as we get older. So we're really hoping to inspire the creative in everybody who comes through by understanding how artists find inspiration. We too find that inspiration and those connections to nature. And we can all express it in our own way. So
I think too that young people have a great time, and probably the youngest people will have a great time in the makerspace. Younger people are much more uninhibited to try their hand at things and to create things. It's the adults that get hung up on whether they can kind of make or create something or has to be somehow just right, whereas kids just jump in and start to make, and that's just wonderful. And I think that'll be a great space for them.
Well, great. Well, many thanks to our panelists and many thanks to members of the public for zooming in this evening. I have just a couple of announcements about upcoming programs. This Wednesday, just 2 days from now, we'll have a free Wednesday evening at the museum called Sunset Swing, a family-friendly, animal-themed dance. This I got to see. So please check our website for details. Then next Monday, the 23rd, we have Mohawk artists Carla and Babe Hemlock in a Zoom conversation with Laura and the Iroquois Museum's Colette Lemon for our final Monday evening exploration of the season. And then finally, I want to mention that in just about 2 weeks, we're going to have our 3rd annual Mohawk and Abenaki Art Market. That'll take place on Saturday, August 28th. And this would have been the 4th, but we didn't have one last year. So we're getting back in the swing here. So once again, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. And I hope you'll join us for future programs. Good night.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.